Welcome to another edition of Take It to the House. This is Drew Robison. I have a very cool guest today that I'm really happy to visit with. He is Gary Barnes. I have become friends with Gary. We've gotten to know each other a little bit in recent years because of our sons that have played in the same football program. Gary's son is already playing at Dartmouth now, Jordan, and doing really well. My son's going to be a senior next year, so it's now the spring. So when you're a junior and it's the spring, you sort of think of yourself as a senior already. So that's kind of where Luke is. But Gary, thanks so much.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me.
So happy to visit with you. Gary and I have kind of a lot in common as we've gotten to talk a little bit. We've kind of learned a lot of different things that we have in common, but specifically what we want to kind of talk about today is Gary's experience as a coach, as a dad. He's got 3 kids, correct? Two kids. Okay, I knew Jordan wasn't the only one, but he's a dad. He's got a son that is playing at a very esteemed college football program in the Ivy League with Dartmouth. Had a great high school career, but Gary is very involved with youth sports in the Middle Tennessee area. I've actually coached a little bit with middle school and 7th and 8th grade, and Gary has a Crimson Tide football program. I can't imagine why they're called the Crimson Tide, but he's got a really cool football program, works with a lot of families and a lot of kids. But just in this first segment, Gary, I want to back up just a little bit prior to that. And let me ask you, first of all, just talk a little bit about your background, how you grew up and what part of your life athletics was. What sports did you play growing up, and how did that kind of lead you down, your adolescent years into adulthood?
Well, first of all, thank you again for bringing me on your podcast here. I grew up in North Nashville, Nashville, Tennessee. Grew up in North Nashville. Went to Whites Creek High.
The Cobras.
The Cobras. There we go, right there. But just in the midst of that, just my community growing up. Just being a part of, a great area where I guess sports was the best thing going. So we would easily, play basketball and run and do all type of different sports, every day throughout the week. But going to Whites Creek, I actually played all 3 sports, as far as three main sports that I would call it. I played football, played basketball, and ran track. From that, I think for myself, I basically just did whatever I could not to have to come home. Whatever could keep me busy at the school, just because I really grew up without a father. So a lot of coaches became kind of like more of the father figure when it came to the sports side of it, and just anything I could do would involve coaches and sports. That's what I did.
Was Coach Core?
Coach Core, yeah.
Okay. So I think I'm maybe a handful of years, not too much older than you are, but I graduated high school in '89, and I played against a guy named David Sadler.
That's right.
Who I pretty much know. You know who he is.
Indeed.
Was a great player.
One legend, right?
And actually was recon. Researching your Facebook a little bit, I saw you're friends with Joe Campbell.
Yes, indeed.
Stratford guy.
Right.
Joe and Corey Fleming may be the 2 best high school football players I've ever played against.
Great Joe laid it down.
And Corey is a great basketball player too. But yeah, I actually, not to get sidetracked, but I actually bumped into a kid the other day who was going to football practice at Stratford. And he said, Joe, I was talking to him about Joe Campbell, and he said, yeah, Coach Campbell's one of our coaches.
Yes.
So he's helping out at Stratford, which is kind of cool.
He's helping out. On top of that, he has his own kids. He has a group of the boys that are out here rocking and rolling. So he got a good wave. So you'll start to hear the Campbell name.
Well, I knew about Coach Core. I'll tell you just brief thing. The first thing the reason I know who he is, I don't never really talk to him, but I know who he is because I played quarterback at Montgomery Bell academy, and we were just, I don't know if this is when you were in high school, but it was all just AAA, AA, single A. So we were in the same district as Whites Creek. Played them every year. Played them twice in basketball, and we my junior and senior year. I think my senior year we lost 2 games. My junior year we ended up losing 2 because we lost to Stratford in the playoffs, but we were 9-1. Our loss each year was to Whites Creek. But my senior year, I remember the leading up to the game. It was a big game because I think we were 4-0 and they were 4-0. And Coach Core, they asked him what he was going to do about this NBA quarterback because I was throwing for a lot of yards. And he said, well, we believe our defensive philosophy is that a quarterback's not going to complete as many passes when he's on his back. So I remember Coach Core was I remember him thinking, okay, this guy is kind of aggressive in his pregame interviews because I never would have said something that bold. But anyway, they ended up beating us. I don't know if I was on my back that much, but they were definitely aggressive and a really good program.
Right.
So, but anyway, so keep going. So you were playing a lot of sports. You had a lot of father figures with the sports that you played at school.
Right. Just really just I think when it comes to me just in sports and stuff like that, I was blessed. I was blessed to be able to come across some great men who actually, kind of poured into me and definitely told me that, son, you can go to college. You can go to college. I think part of the reason why that was so special because me growing up, I really didn't think of college. I wasn't thinking about college. My main goal was just to graduate from high school. I think in my household, the expectation wasn't to go to college. It was more just graduate and get out here and, find a way to, become a good citizen.
Right.
And that's pretty much it. I think even my mother, she was locked into, she was great. My mother laid down the foundation of what it is to be a single mother working and raising 2 boys. And she focused in on work. She focused in on making sure that we had food on the table every day and trying to just have fun out of what we had. But far as games and stuff, as much sports as I played, it was a lot of times she didn't come to those games because at the end of the day, that was more or less play. It took people at work, I think, at her job to tell her, Bev, I think you might want to go check that boy out. That boy he's making some plays. He might be able to go to school.
Right.
So from that, like I said, people looking out for me. Even some of my first college visits, it wasn't by my parents taking me there. It was more coaches taking me there, and really just that's what sparked my light, my energy of saying, I can go to college, I can go to school, and
Now, were you thinking at that time scholarship, or were you thinking just going to college as a general, as a non-athlete?
no, only thing I would ever think about is going as to play ball.
Okay.
That's really all I. Without ball, I don't even know if school would have been important.
Did one sport start to emerge as your sport that you felt like I could play football in college, or I could? Where were basketball and track in comparison to football?
No, football was it. Basketball had nothing like I was. The greatest thing I can ever say when it comes to being a native from Nashville is that I played all 4 years at Whites Creek in basketball.
Yeah.
Okay. By the time I was a senior, I was the only senior on the team. And I take great pride in that because Whites Creek during that gap, you're talking about David Vaughn, Marlon Sims,
Right.
the great Alan Carter's, all type of great Lawrence Haywood, all type of just known basketball players that came out of Whites Creek. And just to be a part of that legacy and knowing that I played that at that school, it meant a lot to me. Um, Basketball was just more, I wasn't a shooter then, so I could play defense. Using football, bringing that effort onto the basketball court. Hey, give me the best player. I'll hold that person down.
Right.
And that's what I was known for when it came to basketball. I think track took me further than any sport
Yeah.
at that point because AAU, USA,
And what events did you do?
100, 200, 400. But my main sport was the decathlon.
Okay.
Coming out of my senior year, I was ranked number 2 in the nation
Wow.
in the decathlon. Now that I care about it so much, no. But I think first my coach Jim Nauner, he actually, um, you know, he looked at it from points. Hey, if you do this right here, we can get these, points going into the state.
Right.
Okay, well that
Right.
sounds great right there. So even from that, just choosing to push a 10 sport, what is it, a 10 event sport.
Right.
It was cool. Learning how to pole vault, learning how to do things like that. Man, it was amazing to me. But between Coach Nauder and then I ran into a lady that named Jan Barton, and Jan, I think she has another last name now, but she's actually the head track coach over at NBA right now.
Oh wow.
But Jan, you want to talk about a person that definitely brought a lot out of me to go even further in track. She brought the best out of me, and like I say, she showed me the world through track. But through track, that's what took me further because what I'm gaining speed. So by the time
Right.
it was time for me to run the 40s and stuff like that, I was running the 4.3, 440 when it comes to just track and then pushing that into football.
Yeah. So let's pause for just a second. We're gonna come back and talk. I want to find out a little bit more about how that led to your college decision and kind of
Mhm.
what the next phase of life for you was. And we're gonna do that right after this break. This is Take It to the House. I'm Drew Robison. Joining me today, Gary Barnes. We'll be back in just a minute.